Optimums sent him a couple links to some YouTube videos, and we thought, since we are on the road, we would listen to these videos.
This is a friend who I've known for a very long time. He was part of the youth group growing up, and we just keep in touch, and has an open mind, and we talk about some of these conspiracy type things and things going on in the world. He's a believer, and so he shared a couple links, and we checked them out.
Well, we didn't check them out. We're going to check them out right now. So this first one here is titled, "Man from Nephilim Bloodline Speaks Out. Things are getting real." And the YouTube content creator here is Isaiah Robin. So let's check it out.
A little different. I started watching a podcast, right? And it was of a young man named Nathan Reynolds.
Oh, Nathan Reynolds.
He was on a podcast called The Confessionals.
I know Nathan Reynolds. Do you know Nathan Reynolds?
Absolutely.
You do?
Oh, I do now because you just told me about him, but I had heard the name before and I didn't put it together. But I believe Nathan Reynolds is a guy he's like a real life Jason Bourne.
Yeah, basically he is a real life Jason Bourne. I found out about Nathan Reynolds probably around the same time that I found out about the Little season, because Nathan Reynolds has a YouTube channel. It's actually called The Linen Railroad. And so he had made some videos about the millennial reign of Christ already being a thing. And he also made a bunch of videos about like just sharing about his life. So on like the Linen Railroad YouTube channel, it's basically kind of like a vlog of his life, and that's where I found out about this guy and about like the insanity that is his life. And it's really crazy because yeah, he really is come from a Nephilim bloodline. He comes from a lineage of satanic ritual abusers, and he himself has actually been satanically ritually abused as a baby, like from baby up until, you know, his young teen life, where then he was at that point fully programmed and released into the wild to be like a Jason Bourne kind of guy who can be triggered at any time to carry out whatever task. Something really interesting is in one of the videos of his that I was watching, he was sharing about like the layers of programming and how it all operates. And so it's more than just like a keyword. Literally during the programming process, it can be smells, like specific smells that can trigger you, specific patterns that trigger you, buttons on shirts that can be the trigger point, and it's so freaking wild. So what he had been sharing, he has a video that he posted 2 months ago talking about like the last basically 9 months of their life, and how, you know, things have been going really well until all of a sudden some more layers of like the programming began to come to the surface, because that is the way our Lord works. Like he doesn't just like pull the freaking band-aid off real quick, especially when it comes to something as intense and traumatizing as satanic ritual abuse and MK Ultra and all that stuff. And then not only that, like Nathan Reynolds, he like physically did stuff, like bad stuff, you know, because he was programmed to be like a weapon and a machine to annihilate, quote unquote, the enemy of our enemies. So there's a lot that he is going through and dealing with in regards to his like healing journey and whatnot. But anyways,
how did he wake up and get out? Or is he still, they're still trying to get him to do stuff? Or
so that's what his last video was sharing, is that they are still after him and his family. And so he has a wife and he has kids.
And living in the woods or something?
Well, they don't have a home. So like these psychopaths ransacked his home. He and his family had to basically pack their minivan and like flee in the middle of the night kind of thing. And and they were on the road, like running from here, there, and everywhere, trying to take refuge in the homes of whoever would take them, but also at the same time knowing that then that becomes a bit of a liability for the folks who open up their home to help them, right? Like in the same way, like on the Firefly, when Shepherd Book gets off the Serenity and he's finally living on some planet, and then
the main girl in that story it was
River.
River was MK Ultra.
Yeah.
And like in the movie, that wraps everything up, she gets triggered through a commercial of a cartoon on the screen.
And the thing is that they trigger her via a commercial on the screen because they're trying to find her. And so in that instance, the best way to find her was to have her, switch personalities out in public so that it would cause a disturbance, and they'd be like, oh, boom, now we know her location, we found her.
I'm just going to give a little bit of history to the whole MK Ultra and programming and everything. Like, we started finding out about the MK Ultra like maybe 15, 20 years ago through guys like Alex Jones and some other whistleblowers, and I even had downloaded the MK Ultra manual and had it on my desktop, and it was quite interesting. It's like the CIA and all that, they figured out this process, and even in Canada, the CIA was operating in Montreal, I believe, and they were taking people, just regular people, and giving them massive amounts of LSD and then like torturing them and splitting their personalities. So the demons come in and give them altered personality states,
alter egos,
and then that can be triggered, and then they can get them to do different stuff. So that's the base of that. This has been going on for a very long time,
decades,
and we've come to learn that like they favor people with this Nephilim bloodline, and so all of humanity has a little bit in it. It's all been mixed up, and that's why it's important to redeem yourself in the blood of Jesus, because it can redeem your genetics, and they love to go after the people that have more of this, because the Illuminati families, these are bloodline families, and they have the most purest Nephilim genetics, and so they're tracing it back to the times of
Noah.
Yeah, the times before the flood, and also Nimrod and all that. So basically, they're of that type of bloodline, and generationally, what they do with these families that are more bloodline families that they've chosen, they will, the parents will be handlers for the children, and they'll abuse the children and then make them MK Ultra slaves, and then in turn they do the same thing to their kids, and each generation it gets more powerful, and you'll be surprised at how just widespread this is all through society. And there's like when you go deep down into the conspiracy theories, there's something called the Black Awakening, and apparently there's literally an army of people all over the world that are waiting for the day when they're going to be triggered. And apparently the people, more than one, many people have come out and exposed this, is that they will have like one day in a month or whatever that they'll be woken up in a trance by a trigger word. They'll go out in the middle of the night and they'll do training, for a specific task for when this happens. So this is the level that they are programming society to follow the satanic agenda. This is why it's important that we do go towards the creative revolution and exiting from the system, because when this happens, it's going to be like a nightmare that we've all seen on TV and the movies when the apocalypse hits. It's that the cities isn't where you want to be.
No, the cities.
When the Black Awakening happens, you want to be with your tribe in the woods.
Yeah, and that is exactly what happened with Nathan Reynolds. It was his family that perpetuated the abuse upon him. He does share at great length about then the offer that come to him once he had child to then inflict the same amount of trauma and keep it all in the bloodline and whatnot. And they came to him with offers of like money, like big amounts of money, security, all of this stuff, kind of like playing on the lusts of the flesh. And Nathan Reynolds, even though at this point he had kind of not fully come out of it, and he was aware of what has happened to him and what was happening to him. I believe that at this point too, he'd already come to Christ. But that temptation was real, and he's transparent about it, about what it was like being faced with that proposition, you know. But then ultimately he chose not to sacrifice his child, and he ended up having multiple children, and none of them have, you know, been involved in the satanic ritual abuse, the bloodline stuff, blah blah blah. But you had asked Adam how he ended up waking up and getting out of it. It was through family friends. So it was through some family friends that I guess at some point too had awakened up to the realities of this stuff. And I believe I may be totally wrong, but anybody can just go to the Linden Railroad on YouTube and find any of his videos where he shares about it. He's also on a lot of podcasts. I think he was on Dan Duvall's podcast, and I know this guy's going to talk about him. He was on the Deep End with Taylor Welch, but they took the podcast down because God told them to. Not sure why, but whatever. It's always good to just do whatever God asks you to do. But that's where he kind of shares that it's the family friends that helped basically save him and then give him a safe space to do some form of deprogramming at the beginning. So anyways, wild. Nathan Reynolds. Do we want to maybe just listen here to a couple minutes of this and see what this guy's going to say?
Sure.
I was 4 minutes in. First of all, I got this video sent to me from a friend, right? And this friend does a lot of different studies and a lot of different watchings on Nephilim. So on this podcast, the guest was somebody whose family is said to be descendants of the Nephilim. Okay? So when I first got it, I was like, I'll watch it. But 4 minutes in, when he said that they were Luciferians, but then he went and named Lucifer's real name, which is Hallel. His Hebrew name is Hallel. Lucifer is what we call him in English. But when he said, yeah, the Luciferians, they worship Hallel, I said, oh shoot, I gotta watch it on here live with y'all. Okay? I gotta watch it on here live with y'all. We're gonna watch it together. This is my first time seeing it. This is also your first time seeing it. So let's just check it out.
Woo, let's go!
You come from a family that people describe it as an Illuminati family. Is that how you would describe it?
That's not how I would describe it in the same way. I'll be honest. It's I think it's just a popular catchphrase that a lot of people are borrowing into. No, I come from a family that they believe they are descendants of the old gods. That's the best way to say it. That they believe that they are carriers of a seed line that gives them the divine right to rule. And that is what gives them justification spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, scientifically to dominate the lesser species known as humans. Humans literally means a lesser species of man. And they do not believe they are a human in the same way. They believe they are something other than. And that's descendants of this hierarchical ruling species that is from the celestial realm that descended in the days of Jared and came down and procreated with the daughters of men. And that they still trace their seed line back to Gilgamesh, till Nimrod. And so this is what the dynastic families believe they have, is a superiority in their genetics on one side.
So he says something quite interesting. He says this is what the dynastic bloodlines believe. So like that means like dynasty bloodlines. That means folks like Rockefeller. That even means folks like the freaking quote unquote Queen of England, right?
The black nobility. There's like 5 of these families apparently that are ruling the world, and they are part of this, and they probably have the purest genetics descending from that. And it's interesting to see how just deceived they are, because they don't have the right to rule. God has the right to rule, and Christ is king.
Yeah.
So like they're just deceived. It's illegitimate authority. And if we go down in the path of sovereignty and the realization that God has given us all freedom as sovereign beings, we get to choose, and they're basically forcing us to contract with them.
It's totally crazy, because at the same time, it's not like they just believe that they have these genetics and these bloodlines. It's highly, highly, highly probable that they absolutely do, and that they are.
But what they don't have is the right to rule.
Exactly, they don't have the right to rule. And yeah, this is very fascinating. But okay, just as an FYI, this video is like an hour and a half. We're not gonna get into the whole.
We're just gonna listen to the first like 10 minutes.
and the ability to commune with the divine. And so their children are progenitors of these, some might call them abreactions, mutations, these skills, psychic abilities, that kind of stuff, all variants of it. And so they raise up their children in this path with which involves a tremendous amount of shattering of the soul and the identity, so that there's compartmentalization within, and it allows them the ability to train their child up in a way that makes them conducive towards the family. I call them the family. That's what I call them. You know, it's a better word for mafia than anything else. But no, we didn't call ourselves like.
It's interesting about the genetics and these special abilities that they have. And we had another friend that came by that had this
well, an encounter. Like, it was so crazy. It's very much like what happened to Nathan Reynolds, but a bit different.
And she was describing her special ability. There's a whole thing with the technology and the graphene oxide that they're pumping through the chemtrails and everything. She was saying that she was controlling her phone with her mind. And this is where they're going with the Internet of Bodies and hooking everybody up to the 5G and having everybody vaccinated with the all the technology and everything. Like, she was there and she was using her mind to control her phone. And then
prior to that, though, like, she was and is quite, I'm using my quote-unquote gifted, in the sense that she is a bit of a seer, like, in the spirit realm.
She always has, like, these crazy spiritual encounters.
Yes, with things like mermaids, like in the water. And she also was sharing with us that her lineage is quite colorful, so to speak, that on her dad's side, he went kind of like the route with his spiritual powers. He went the route of darkness, but on her mother's side, she went on the quote-unquote path of light, although it was a deceptive light. She dove deep into Reiki, and so she was a very prominent Reiki healer. She considered herself to be a light worker, and this woman was so prominent in the Reiki light working healing arena that she was servicing these high-level bloodlines. So all that to say, when she popped by our house the other day to let us know that she was basically being hijacked, that her body was being weaponized against her, and she had to do like a 25-part series to detox and to get this programming out. I thought it was so interesting because she was coming to us as like, warning, warning, this might be happening to you too. And so when she was sharing, I was like, oh, this is so interesting. But my spirit was so at peace, and so was my mind, because I'm like, girl, baby, girl, got the blood of Jesus. Like, none of this can touch me. Psalm 91 says, nor can any plague come near my tent. No evil will befall me. And so I'm like, this is so great. And so second side, Adam and I, we did some of this detoxing as a protocol, just to kind of see, and do you think anything coming out of our bodies that's patented, that's friggin', alive and hijacking us? The answer is no. Absolutely not. And I mean, Adam over here, doesn't matter what he's going to say. I'm speaking for myself right now. Doesn't matter what he's going to say. But for me, I serve the Lord, and for me, I'm untouchable.
Well, the only thing I'm going to say is that it's very important to have the blood of Jesus in this time, and just increase your faith in Creator, increase your righteousness, increase everything that you can in the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of light, because you need it to overcome the darkness.
Yes.
And it's not like you're completely immune to all this just because I believe in Jesus.
No, you have to be actively working. You have to actively be doing the work to heal your soul, to be delivered of demonic influence, because that's also 100 million trillion % real.
And even if we have the blood of Jesus and you're saved and you're actively, it's not like a lot of Christians will believe that as soon as you get saved, you say the sinner's prayer, all the demons leave. It's like, no, there's a lot of work to still do, right? So you gotta become aware of these things, and then you gotta do the work.
Yeah.
And then the more you become aware, and you can protect yourself ahead of time if you know the plan of the enemy, so you don't get infected with all the spiritual and physical things of the attacks.
Yeah, you have to be abiding in the Lord. So Jesus is the vine, we are the branches. We need to be diligent to ensure that every single day we are connected to Him. We are connected to the source of all life. That life force of Jesus Christ, the resurrected King of Kings, Lord of Lords, is flowing through our being. For the Word says that apart from Him, we can do nothing. So the interesting thing is that we can be doing all this stuff, even like our friend, she's doing these things to detox, but apart from Jesus Christ, she can actually do nothing that will truly last and set her free. And so the reality is that when she came by, I was like, Lord, you sent her by, not as a warning to us to be like, oh, we better detox and make sure we don't have nanobots. But the reality is like, no, you got to get her on the prayer list and get praying for this woman, because she's in your life for a reason. And she also needs to be in the kingdom so that she can be a weapon against those who are trying to weaponize her.
Yeah, because I guarantee.
My family never call themselves Illuminists.
Sorry.
Right? They're Luciferian, that's for certain. They worship Halal and Shahar, as he's really known, but different reasons than what people are ascribed to, you know.
Interesting. All right, so I want you to start from the beginning of what your childhood was like and just walk us through this. But before you do, you just said something that I got to ask you before I forget. What they believe, do you believe is true in the sense of them being able to trace back their lineage to the fallen?
Some of them, yes. I believe they absolutely can.
Do you think that's in your blood?
I believe it was, yeah. I believe it is.
Yeah?
I believe there's no way to physiologically necessarily. My blood's been augmented a lot over the years. I volunteered for a lot of stuff and said yes to everything that they could ever give me that would make me better than what I was. I was on a desperate quest for relief. And so I volunteered for all kinds of stuff, and I volunteered for stuff that was transhuman in its nature.
Really?
And it augmented me quickly, you know, and that was brutal. Because then there's this, I lived a lot longer than I expected. Let me just put it that way. I did not think I would ever see 18. Never even comprehended the idea that I would ever know a family that wasn't this other thing, where the powers of control and access were given through the abuse of children. That's what I knew was normal. And I knew that people were corrupt and monsters and were willing to devour each other to rise to the top. I understood what wolves were when they ran the world. And so it was very hard for me to get to a place where I could believe that I could be redeemed, because I had witnessed enough of things in the families that make it seem like I'm irredeemable forever. And it took me, there was a single book, one book that made a massive difference in that, which was called The Gospel to Every Creature. And I believe it's written by John Darnell. It is very hard to find. I have a copy, but it's been scrubbed. And it's the good news to Nephilim, vampires, and transhumans, you know, and it helped me to see that maybe I wasn't anathema, that maybe just because I have the seed line in me, that maybe just because I'm a progenitor of the offspring of the fallen, that it doesn't mean that I'm not able to be redeemed, because no matter what, by blood or by belief, I believe that we have a Messiah that overcame and we can overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the words of our testimony, and not living our lives in face with God. And it was that powerful encounter with the Almighty, with the true judge of all the earth, who I can make an appeal to, who can give me a new bloodline, you know, and that's what he offers to everyone. And so I do believe that's available to those that come from these families.
That's wild.
All right, we're gonna stop it there, because I think that is.
It's already said a lot.
I mean, I was watching the stream while he's sharing, and like, this poor man. And I'm honestly super thankful that he has the guts to go live with all of this stuff. Because honestly, like I said, if you go to his YouTube channel and watch his daily vlogs and stuff like that, he talks about his life, and like, it's not safe to bring this darkness to the light in this public way. Even if you think about Hollywood, right? And Whitney Houston and like Michael Jackson and these folks who like didn't toe the line, and then boom, they get unalived just like that. Like Nathan Reynolds is putting his neck out on the line, exposing this stuff. He's putting his family out on the line, exposing this stuff, but he's doing it obviously because this is what God has called him to, and God is with him and protecting him and his family and ensuring their safety. And I think he says it so beautifully there that every creature can be redeemed, that there is redemption for the bloodlines. And I think, I mean, it's so comforting. Not that I'm super worried about my bloodline, but I mean, it's crossed my mind I have red hair. If you do even just a little bit of research, like the red hair comes from that Nephilim bloodline.
Maybe not exclusively, but that is a trait of the Nephilim.
Yeah.
They were like, and it talks about Jacob and Esau. Esau came out completely covered in hair and red hair. He was basically like Nephilim gene 100%. He was basically a Sasquatch.
It's Bigfoot!
Yeah.
He does exist!
And it's so interesting that I think that in another extra biblical text, it talks about him actually killing Nimrod, hunted him down, and killed
Oh my gosh, yes.
the Nephilim lord himself.
Yeah, so interesting. Like, honest to goodness, the truth is stranger than fiction.
It's crazy.
And fiction is, I guess it's always been like my secret favorite genre that I didn't know I loved until it slapped me in the face one day and I was all like, wow, I love this stuff. Did I say fiction or did I say science? Science fiction. Science fiction.
Yeah, you forgot. You said fiction.
I love everything that's not real. I mean, anyways, long story short here. I know Nathan Reynolds, but even just like listening to him share like that little piece, I don't know, it's really made me feel something. So I think we're gonna have to turn this off now so I can cry a little bit. How do you feel about that, Adam?
Go right ahead.
Okay, well, thanks so much, you guys, for tuning in. We'll be back with another episode because we've just got tons of ideas, baby. This is the creative revolution. Be blessed, bold, and brave out there.